We were at the National Motorcycle Museum for their once-a-year Vintage Rally. This is 4th Annual Vintage Rally 2014. And we're walking the bike show this afternoon, and we're going to do a few highlights of some of the more interesting stuff that's in the show today. So let's take a little walk and take a look at the motorcycles in the Vintage Rally Show 2014. We're looking at a 1953 Vincent Black Shadow, and this was probably the hot rod that everybody wanted back in the 40s and 50s, the post-war era. It was about the best high-performance machine to come out of England. The Brough Superior was a little more expensive, but maybe leaned a little more toward the touring side. What I really like about these bikes is the pains they went to for detail. If you look at these brake backing plates with the ventilation on them and the fins on the hubs, these, by the way, are the Black Lightning brakes, a little bit of an upgrade from their performance bike. The beautiful speedometer that's very upright, the interest of how the foot pegs are hung, all the detail on the side of the cases. The Shadow had the black crankcases and side covers. The Rapide, they left natural. So this is a sexier machine, you might say, kind of the blacked out look that a lot of us like. The seat, if you look at things closely, the swing arm is kind of a monoshock setup, which we all think was invented about 1974, but actually is much earlier than that. The seat's attached to the swing arm by these struts. So much like a rigid motorcycle frame, every bump that the rear wheel hits is transmitted to the rider on the seat. So enjoy Vincent Black Shadows when you come across them. They're the height of British excellence. In the 50s, the company made its last motorcycles in 1954, and by the way, on the Series D, which is their last production, they fixed that little seat problem. Harley-Davidson and Indian both made motorcycles, special motorcycles, for World War I and World War II military efforts. They were primarily used for courier service. This is a WLA, which they made for World War II. They had special lighting that worked to keep the machines less visible to the enemy. Special carrying capacity with this really heavy-duty stamped steel rack. Special saddlebags. Air cleaner was a lot more developed, so the machine didn't suck any sand or dirt or anything and became more durable. Indian and Harley-Davidson kind of fought for contracts in this era. And Harley-Davidson made more. The WLA was really the mainstay. It made a few different versions of them. But it's really great to see how motorcycles played a role in military and also in police, fire, and general delivery service. This is a really nice rigid bobber, kind of a worn term at this point, but it's old school in many ways. But it's got belt drive, so it's kind of modernized a little bit, runs a little cleaner that way. Lots of great chrome on it. Everything's looking really sweet. Nice simple paint job, you know, nothing overdone. Nice oil filter housing with the fins on top, kind of complementing the gear case down there. Forward controls. It's a 1961, I believe. Yeah, 61. And twisted steel spokes, nice little detail. But just a low-key, really handsome machine built on a custom frame. In 1969, Honda brought out the CB360, 4-cylinder with a disc brake, and by now everybody knows about these machines. They really hit the roads with a storm. A lot of people ran out and buy them. They were road raced, and Dick Mann won Daytona on one in 1970. Suzuki, Kawasaki, and Yamaha were a little farther behind. In '72, Suzuki brought out their 3-cylinder, 2-stroke, water-cooled touring bike to compete with the Honda 750, and we're looking at a great example here. It came in turquoise and what you might call kind of a raspberry and white color. Really nice details. They used 4 mufflers, split the center cylinder into 2 exhaust systems. The front brake has been used numerous times on road race bikes. You know, to this day you'll go to vintage races and see that brake on the front. It was kind of a holdover drum brake when other companies were going to disc brakes. It's still kick-start because these bikes are really easy starters, and unlike other machines of that era, you got a water temp gauge on top because just about everything was still air-cooled when Suzuki was trying this water-cooled piece that's now nicknamed the Water Buffalo. We're looking at a mid-70s Honda CB360 that's, well, just about all that's left of the original bike is the motor. We know the guy that owns this bike. He's a young man in his 20s, and he and some friends built the frame. You can see a lot of great custom touches on this thing. It's got a lot of macho on it. Nice grip down here that's part of the chain adjusting system. Piece of billet made to look like a shell. Hand grenade is on the end of the shift lever here. And we've got some brass knuckles incorporated into the steering head up here, part of the reinforcement in the frame. So it's a great example of inexpensive to build, but very original machine where somebody can express themselves and make a neat motorcycle that they can take for a ride.
My name is Harold Duffy. I'm from Mesa, Arizona. I've owned this 1942 Sport Scout since 1962, so I've had it 52 years, and I rode it on the street when I was 16. I didn't ask my folks if I could get it or not, so I kept it in another town. I hid it from them. The rear tire in the picture from 1960 is still on the bike. It's a synthetic tire from World War II, we think. We're not sure. It could be a soybean tire, but that's the same tire that was in the 1960 picture.
We're looking at a really great T100C Triumph, 1968. Triumph pretty much changed their paint jobs every year, and this turquoise is what they used in 1968 on their Daytona, and also the basic Tiger with down pipes. Now what's interesting is we just left a seminar in the museum, and it was about motorcycle collecting. We had about 8 panelists, and it's pretty much unanimous that original condition, unrestored motorcycles are the wave. You know, that's the most important stuff. And that's what we've got before us here. This bike has just been spit shined. You can see the little label from the dealership on it, a few chips on the tank, and just very minor wear and tear on the machine. Doesn't appear to have been used off-road. So this is a very desirable machine in this because so few survive. This is a bike that most people that walk up to think maybe it's from Germany, maybe it's an NSU, but indeed it's a Honda, and it's a 1954 Honda Dream. This bike was gray market imported, you might say. In 1959, Honda finally set up a distribution network in the United States, but this bike was brought over at some other point, possibly more recently. You see a lot of evidence that Soichiro Honda was looking at the German motorcycle manufacturers, BMW and NSU, when he took styling cues and also the construction cues. You got a pressed steel frame running the full length in the steering head, kind of like a perimeter frame on sport bikes starting in the 1980s. You got a plunger rear end that the British used a lot of, and the Germans and even Indian on their American machines. And just a real interesting piece. A lot of great contours, a lot of streamlining. The chrome stripes on the fuel tank and on the sides of the headlight nacelle. Just a really handsome machine. And you know, it's one of the reasons that the National Motorcycle Museum is a great place. You can come here and study the history of motorcycle design. You got several reference points like this Honda, the German machines. You can walk around, kind of study them, and really pick up what was happening with motorcycle design in the 50s. So it's been a great show. We hope that next year you'll come out for Vintage Rally, maybe polish up a few of your bikes, 1989 or earlier, and join the show here at Vintage Rally 2015. Thanks a lot.